It wasn't easy, but finally, after sitting down for hours, I compiled a list of all of Kamala Harris's lies told during the debate with Trump. Let's get into it. Lie number 1. Tax cuts to billionaires. So this is a lie that the left likes to push, but in actuality, Trump's tax cuts benefited everyone, but most notably, the middle class. People with an AGI of 15,000 to 50,000 enjoyed a tax cut between 16% and 26% in the first year alone. And the average tax cut for brackets starting at $1 million was less than 6%. Lie number 2. Trump has not proposed a 20% sales tax. Harris was likely referring to Trump's proposal to raise tariffs on imports. Lie number 3. Kamala claims that Trump left them the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Now, I've already debunked this claim on my channel before, but I'll do it briefly here. During the COVID lockdowns, the unemployment rate rose to 14.8%, but by the time Trump left office, he slashed that by over half to 6.4%. Lie number 4. She claims that January 6th was the worst attack on democracy since the Civil War. I'm not even going to comment. Lie number 5. She attempts to tie Trump to Project 2025 over and over and over again, despite the fact that he's denounced it over and over and over again. Lie number 6. So the moderator claims that there is no state where it's legal to kill a baby after it's born. Well, there are currently 7 states that have no limit on abortions. Also, former Governor of Virginia Ralph Northam did state that he was not against a post-birth abortion given birth defects or non-viability.
Would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth, and she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor.
And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired.
Lie number 7. Kamala claims that there is a Trump abortion ban that makes no exception for rape or incest. This is absolutely false on 2 levels. 1. There is no Trump abortion ban, and 2, he believes in 3 exceptions: rape, incest, and life of the mother.
But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
After Roe v. Wade was overturned, it was kicked back to the states. This is now a state issue that cannot be stressed enough. Lie number 8. She claims Trump doesn't support IVF. Again, this is absolutely false and completely baseless. Trump has been a major supporter of IVF, going as far to say that if he gets back in office, he's going to make sure that either the government pays for it or he mandates that the insurance pays for it, so that way the person receiving the treatment pays nothing.
IVF would be free.
So we are paying for that treatment.
All Americans who want it?
For all Americans that get it, all Americans that need it. So we're going to be paying for that treatment, or we're going to be mandating that the insurance company pay.
Lie number 9. She claims that Donald Trump killed the border bill, which really wasn't much of a competent border bill to begin with. It was more of a foreign aid / immigration reform bill with a little bit of border security sprinkled in there for good measure. But again, this is absolutely false with 0 evidence to support this. Donald Trump was not even in office when this happened, and he has no power to influence such things. Lie number 10. The moderators claim that Trump's remarks about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, killing and eating pets is false. Yes and no. So here's the truth. It has not been 100% confirmed that pets are being stolen and eaten in Springfield, aside from some unverified Facebook posts. There have been, however, multiple people going to city commission meetings in Springfield complaining about the Haitians, quote, chopping off the heads of ducks and eating them, on top of the many other offenses ranging from sexual assault to vehicular manslaughter.
Really challenge you guys to get out here and do something. These Haitians are running into trash cans. They're running into buildings. They flipping cars in the middle of the street. They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them and eating them like.
Opening containers in our grocery stores, helping themselves to what's inside and throwing the rest onto the shelves and floors. Pulling off of the highway to publicly clean and gut the roadkill lying there in front of anyone that passes by. Stealing animals from farmers and leaving their severed heads at the side of an old school where children play. Relieving themselves in public, making some barbaric stew out of the birds that live in our park. This is insanity, and it has to stop. What will become of Springfield? Where will we be in 5 years? The thought terrifies me.
Lie number 11. Gotta look at my notes for this. Harris claims that he's been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, 34 felonies, and liable for sexual assault. So, here's the truth with this. I've covered some of this, but honestly, I'm going to have to go a lot more in-depth and make dedicated videos to these subjects because it's a huge can of worms. So, for right now, she just gets a big fat Pinocchio. Lie number 12. Harris claims that Donald Trump was not renting to black people in the 70s. So again, I've already covered and debunked this. Go look for the video called Epic Debunking. Needless to say, there is no actual proof that he nor his father ever discriminated. Lie number 13. Harris claims that Trump has disdain for the military. Now, there have been multiple reports of anecdotal hearsay regarding Trump making uncouth remarks about the military, but nothing ever concrete and proven. The only disrespectful remarks that Donald Trump has ever made about a military service member were about John McCain years ago, and that was wrong. Aside from that, Donald Trump has been extremely pro-military and has always treated them with the utmost care and respect, making them one of his top priorities during his administration. Lie number 14. Harris claims that she's made it clear she would not ban fracking. Again, no, she did not. She said in the 2020 VP debate that Biden would not ban fracking.
That Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact.
She, on the other hand, has always been for banning fracking.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities.
Lie number 15. She says that she is not taking anyone's guns, yet she has always supported a mandatory buyback program. Now all of a sudden she doesn't support a mandatory buyback program, so you be the judge.
And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. We need an assault weapons ban. We need an assault weapons ban. We need an assault weapons ban. I do believe that we need to do buyback. I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country. Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. I support buybacks.
How mandatory is your gun buyback program?
It's mandatory. And together, when we win in November, we are an assault weapons ban.
Lie number 16. The moderators try and paint the events of January 6th as though Donald Trump only told his supporters to march down to the Capitol and nothing else, and then after shit hit the fan hours later, jumped on Twitter and told them to be peaceful and go home. And this is not entirely accurate. What Trump actually said to that crowd before the events ensued was that, "I know you will soon be marching over to the Capitol to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard."
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
And then he followed up hours later on Twitter telling his supporters to go home and that we are the party of law and order.
But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time.
And also, Donald Trump was right when he said Nancy Pelosi admitted fault for not accepting Donald Trump's offer to send in the National Guard.
Responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. Should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
There's not a question of how they had, but they don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Lie number 17. Harris says that Donald Trump incited a violent mob. Again, just covered it. Not true. Lie number 18. Harris claims that officers died in the line of duty on January 6th. This is false. Lie number 19. Harris alludes that Trump was charged with an insurrection. Again, this is simply not true. Lie number 20. Harris perpetuates the Charlottesville hoax, even though it's been debunked time and time and time again, including by yours truly. In actuality, he denounced it an hour and 49 minutes after the events, and then 2 times after. Here's what he really said.
And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Lie number 21, she claims that Donald Trump told the Proud Boys to, quote, stand back and stand by. So this is partially true, but there is a little bit more nuance to it than meets the eye. Donald Trump was asked by Chris Wallace during a debate in 2020 with Biden if he would denounce white supremacy and militia groups and tell them to stand down. Trump misspoke and said stand back and stand by, leading to confusion and people to think that he is affiliated with the Proud Boys, of which he is not.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and